So let us start. So today we are going to start with chapter number 5. So this is actually chapter 5. The first part of chapter 5 talks about a very special class of circuits called as current mirrors, and the second part talks about the differential amplifiers. So we will see differential amplifier slightly later, but today's talk will be mainly on current mirrors. So what is a current mirror? So basically what happens is, many times, let us say this is a CS amplifier, very simple. This is RD, this is your VDD, and here you give your V in and here you have your V out. So the current that flows through this here is ID, and here this is drain, source and gate, and we can very well show VGS here is plus minus VGS, and here we can show plus minus VDS. Now as far as this circuit is concerned, let us say that if my channel length modulation lambda is not equal to 0, so my R0 is not infinity, and I can write the gain equation like this: AV is minus GM into RD parallel with R0. This is under this condition, and if lambda is equal to 0, then R0 tends to infinity, and under this condition AV is going to be simply minus GM into RD. So these are the equations for current gain. These are the equations for our current gain. Now the question comes that what if I want that my gain should not change throughout the region of operation? So here some more formulas. If we look at this, the first formula, here we can see GM is equal to, the formula for that is 2 mu n COX W by L times of ID, and here R0 is going to be 1 upon lambda times of ID. So what you can see from these both equations, that it has got a ID term inside it, that is GM and R0 both depend upon the value of ID, and if you want that this gain should be stable, then throughout its operation, throughout the operation of this amplifier, my GM and my R0 values should be constant. They should not change, otherwise my amplification will get affected. And here we can write, therefore there is a need to keep ID constant, and this constant ID can be provided using something called as constant current sources. And from one constant current source, let us say I have one constant current source, its value is I. So from this, if I want to make some more current sources, let's say I1, let's say I2, and I1 can be, let us say, twice of I2 can be I upon 2, it can be anything, okay? So there is no fixed constant here, but it can be any times of I. So if you want to have this from a single current source, then this operation, that is generation of different current sources from a single current source, is called as current mirroring. It's called as current mirroring. So why this is to be done from a single current source? Why are we going for multiple current mirrors? Is because we are going to save area. To save area. Area means to save area, which is basically the on-chip area. On-chip area. So this is something why we actually need to talk about constant current sources which are generated from a single constant current source with the help of current mirroring, and that is why this is called as current mirror. Now let us see a small 2-3 small concepts before we go ahead. So the first concept is going to be MOS resistance. So the first concept is going to be MOS resistance. So no need to, if you are drawing this, it's fine, but what you need to actually write is from this part, that is MOS resistance. So let's write that MOS resistance. Okay. So we know that in the linear region, ID is equal to mu n COX by 2 W by L into 2 times of VGS minus VTH into VDS minus VDS the whole square. Now this is which region of operation? Linear. So if you just want to see, linear means if this is the output characteristics, then the place where this thing bends, this is ID, here we have VDS, and the demarcation line, that is 0. So here this region is going to be called as linear, and this region is called as saturation, and this point is VGS minus VTH. So in case in the linear region, you can observe this condition here, that is if, so I am writing here, if 2 times of VGS minus VTH is very very large as compared to VDS, or we can write if VDS is very very small as compared to twice of VGS minus VTH, then this square term, that is square of VDS, can be neglected. So VD of square is almost equal to 0. So we can write ID is equal to mu n COX W by L upon 2 into twice of VGS minus VTH into VDS minus 0, and then these two also can cancel out. and we can write ID is equal to mu NCOX W by L into VGS minus VTH into VDS. So if I get VDS on this side, I can write VDS upon ID is equal to 1 upon mu NCOX W by L into VGS minus VTH. This is so this is nothing but, I will say, the on resistance of the MOSFET, that is going to be 1 over mu NCOX W by L into VGS minus VTH. So what this also indicates, this formula indicates that, let us say that we are having VGS and here we are having R on, and let us say this is 0, this is my VTH. So as VGS tends to VTH, your R on is going to increase. As VGS tends to VTH, R on is going to increase, and when VGS becomes equal to VTH, R on will become infinity. R on will become infinity. So this is going to be the curve that you should get. Something like this. So you may get such very small sums for 5 marks or 2 marks in the exam. So you should be able to solve it. That is the whole point. And these are the fundamentals for studying the current mirrors. I'll wait here for 2 minutes till you complete writing this. So this is the on resistance of the MOSFET. In which region? This is in which region? This is in linear region. It is in linear region. So let's do a small problem here. That is, for this circuit, this is plus minus 1 volt. This is gate, source, drain. This is your RD, and some values are given. So here we can say this is 5 kilo ohms. The W by L ratio of this transistor is 2 upon 0.18, and some small specs are also given, that is mu NCOX is 100 microamperes per volt square, and the threshold voltage is 0.4 volts. 0.4 volts. So we have to calculate. So here, calculate ID, or I will say calculate change in ID calculate change in ID when VGS increases by 10 millivolts. When VGS increases by 10 millivolts. So very simple. First we will apply the formula of ID. That is, we will assume that the transistors are in saturation. So we will have, so I will write assume, I will call this as M1. M1 is in saturation. So ID, I can write it as mu n COX by 2 W by L into VGS minus VTH the whole square. So mu n COX is given to us, that is 100 into 10 raised to minus 6 upon 2. W by L is 2 upon 0.18. VGS is VG minus VS. So you can see here VGS is 1 volt minus VTH is given to us, that is 0.4 the whole square. Please tell me what is the value of ID. And then they have told us what is the change in drain current if VGS increases by 10 millivolts. So in case ID is equal to 100, all other parameters will be same. This entire thing upon 2 into 2 upon 0.18. 10 millivolts means 1.01 volts, 0.4 the whole square. So we want to know what is the value. So please tell me these values. What is the value here and here? Okay, that is correct. 0.2 milliamperes. I'll write here 200 microamperes. Correct. Mandar and Hemant. Please tell me the answer to the next.
Same.
It's not same.
0.206 milli.
So it is 206.7 microamperes. So there is a 6 microampere increase. There is a 6 microampere increase. Okay. Now, so you may get such questions again and again. That is, let me see this. Okay. So now what is given is here is, it is not given M1 is in saturation. W by L ratio is not given to us. Okay. But what is given to us is VDD is 1.8 volts. That is given to us. Now we have to calculate so W by L of this transistor is not known. So we have to calculate W by L of this transistor. Calculate W by L. Such that M1 is in saturation. Such that M1 is now in saturation. So first it was given that the transistor is in saturation, and then they told you to calculate the value of current. Now they are asking you what should be the size of the transistor so that the transistor in this circuit will be in saturation. So very simple, the condition for saturation is VDS should be greater than equal to VGS minus VTH, or we can say VDS should at least be equal to VGS minus VTH. So VGS is given to us actually indirectly, that is VG minus VS is nothing but 1 volt, and VTH is 0.4, so that is going to be 0.6 volts. Okay. Now you can also see that the current flowing through this is ID. The current flowing through this is ID. So you can apply simple KVL here. So this is nothing but plus minus VDS. So we can write here VDD minus IDRD minus VDS equal to 0. Therefore, ID is equal to VDD minus VDS upon RD. So you can see now we have the value of VDS, we also have the value of VDD. So we can write here that is 1.8 minus 0.6, this entire thing upon 5 into 10 raised to 3. So can somebody tell me what is the value of ID? ID is equal to how much? Okay, 240 microamperes. Is it perfect 240 or is 240 point something?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So it is going to be 240 microamperes. Correct. But now we want to find out the value of W by L. So we know that now the transistor is going to be in saturation. So the formula for transistor in saturation is ID is equal to mu n COX by 2 W by L into VGS minus VTH the whole square. Now we know ID, that is 240 into 10 raised to minus 6 equal to 100 into 10 raised to minus 6 upon 2 into W by L into VGS is 1 minus 0.4 the whole square. So if your eyes are good, you can see W by L is the only unknown. So please tell me what is the value of W by L. Come on, quickly.
$13.33.
13.33, correct. So that is 13.33 upon 1. 13.33 upon 1. Okay. Now, next part of the sum. So these three problems are very important. That is how to calculate the current when the transistor is in saturation. What should be the value of W by L to put the transistor in saturation? And now the next question is what should be the value of VGS so that the transistor will be in saturation? Okay, so let's Go to the next similar sum. So in this same thing, now this is not given, all this is same. So now what is expected from us is calculate VGS such that M1 is in saturation, such that M1 is in saturation. Please copy this sum. So again, like I said, the condition for saturation would be VDS equal to VGS minus VTH. But by common sense and some keen observation, you can see here that VDD minus IDRD minus VDS equal to 0. So we also have this VDD. So this is my first equation, and we can also see VDD minus IDRD minus VDS equal to 0. Therefore, VDS is equal to VDD minus ID. So if we equate both the sides, or if we write like this, now VDS is going to be VGS minus VTH minus VDD minus ID is going to be mu n COX by 2 W by L into VGS minus VTH the whole square into RD. So we can say that this is a quadratic in VGS minus VTH. So this bracket can be looked as x square, this bracket can be looked as x. So you calculate x first, out of that you subtract VTH and get the value of VGS. So this is basically a quadratic in VGS minus VTH. So above is an equation in, or I'll say quadratic equation in VGS minus VTH, the whole VGS minus VTH. So if you see this very cleanly, we can write mu n COX by 2 W by L into VGS minus VTH the whole square plus VGS minus VTH minus VDD equal to 0. So I think you can calculate this ratio, which is 100 into 10 raised to minus 6 upon 2 into 2 into 0.18. So I will just write this as x for the time being. So this is x square plus, let's write this as x minus VDD is 1.8 volts. So I hope you can solve this. So please tell me what is the value of x. So why we are doing this? Because current mirroring is all about ensuring that the MOSFETs are always in saturation region. So we should know yes. So I want two roots to the equation. No, Hemant, something is wrong. Yeah, I think we are forgetting here one term, that is RD. So here we have to write 5 into 10 raised to 3. Just add that. Okay, x is 0.6448 and x is minus 1.0048. So now let us calculate for this. So here VGS minus VTH is 0.6448. Therefore VGS will be 0.6448 plus 0.4, so that is going to be 1.0448. Whereas here VGS minus VTH will be equal to minus 1.0048. So VGS here would be minus 1.0048 plus 0.4, that would be minus 0.6 something. So obviously VGS cannot be negative in the case of MOSFET. So your VGS is going to be 1.044. So we have chosen this value of x and this value of VGS. So I choose that value of x which gives me a positive VGS. Please take this down, and once you complete it, write done in the chat box. Okay. So let's go to the next part. Now let's see a problem again. A MOSFET carries a drain current ID of 1 milliampere and the VDS is 0.5 in the saturation region. So determine ID if VDS rises to 1 volt. Here it is 0.5, here it is 1 volt, and lambda is 0. So that is the first part of the sum, that is determine ID, and also find output impedance. So let's see the solution to this problem. So we know certain things now, that let us say that first ID1 is mu n COX W by L by 2 into VGS minus VTH the whole square into 1 plus lambda VDS. So here I am considering lambda, this 1 plus lambda VDS, because this lambda is given to us, it is not equal to 0. If lambda would have been 0, then this entire term would have been 0. So that is not the case. Similarly, ID2 is mu n COX by 2 W by L VGS minus VTH the whole square 1 plus lambda VDS2. So if you divide these two equations, you can see that mu n cox, w by L, w by L, and VGS, this will cancel out, and what we will get is ID1 upon ID2 is equal to 1 plus lambda VDS1 upon 1 plus lambda VDS2. So what we can observe from here is that ID1 is given to us, so that is nothing but 1 into 10 raised to minus 3. ID2 we have to calculate equal to 1 plus 0.1 into, initially my VDS is 0.5, so here this is 0.5, and it is written it rises to, it not rises by. Rises by means 0.5 will become 1.5, but it rises to means it will actually become 1 volt into 1. So I think you all can see that there is just one unknown, that is ID2. So please tell me what is the value of ID2. ID2 equal to what? Yes, I'm waiting for your answers. Uh, 1.046476 milli, right? That is 1.0476 into 10 raised to minus 3 amperes. Correct. Now they have told us to calculate output impedance, so that is R0. So R0 is obviously VDS2, that is change in VDS upon change in ID. That is basically delta VDS upon delta ID. So VDS2 is 1 minus 0.5 upon, we can write here 1.047 minus 1 into 10 raised to minus 3. So this is equal to what? Please tell me. Yes, the answer is correct. That is 10.5 kilohorts. Now I want you all to solve what will be this same thing. Again ID2 and R0. We will solve again. If this time my lambda is equal to 0.05, Tell me the value of ID2 and R0. Correct. So Hemant is the first one to give the answer. So for this, ID2 comes out to be 1024 milliamperes. Now I am particularly interested in the value of R0. So I want to convince you all that look, if I change ID, my R0 also changes and my gain depends on R0 in some way, and that is why I would like to have that to be constant. Please check the decimal places. I think it is 20.8, not 208. Yes, Apurva, that is correct. Hemant, just check the value. Huh? That is 20.833. So what you should observe here is that if my lambda becomes less, my R0 increases like anything, and if my lambda is some lesser value, my R0 also decreases. So we would always like to have a very high R0, and on top of this you can also see that my R0 changes with ID, which I would not like to change because my gain AV is GM times of RD parallel R0. RD is fixed, okay, fine. But what about GM and R0? They are not fixed. So I want to somehow stabilize this gain, and that is the reason why I should use circuits which will give me constant current. Okay. So I have been, I think, able to convince you to some extent that R0 depends on ID. Now, does GM depend on ID? That is the question. So, as a default, GM is delta ID upon delta VGS, that is the transconductance. But we know the equation for ID, so that is going to be delta upon delta VGS into mu n COX by 2 into W by L into VGS minus VTH the whole square. So this is the saturation current equation. Now you can see there is only one term which depends on VGS, and if you take the derivative of this, what you will get is mu n COX by 2 W by L 2 into VGS minus VTH. So this 2 also we can cancel out, and finally we get mu n COX W by L into VGS minus VTH. So this is the value of GM. Also, ID, as we have written before, that is mu n COX by 2 W by L into VGS minus VTH the whole square. So here we can see that we can write here simply that uh, GM let me write this as one equation, and this one as other. So this is going to be the other equation. This 1 and this is 2. So from this equation we can very well write that VGS minus VTH is equal to GM upon mu n COX W by L. So this is my equation number 3, and this I'll put it in this. So let me write that ID is equal to mu n sub COX by 2 W by L GM square upon mu n COX W by L. So this entire thing square. So what we are left with here, I will write here 2ID and mu n COX W by L. Here we have GM square upon mu n COX W by L square. So this and this will go away, and if you rearrange the terms, we can write GM is equal to root of 2 mu n COX W by L times of L. So you can see from the equation that even GM, which is the transconductance, is a function of ID. Now, like I told you that AV, that is the simple voltage gain, can be GM times of RD parallel with R0. Now GM is a function of ID. R0 is also a function of ID, and this is a RD is a constant. So by common sense you should be able to say that make ID constant in the circuit such so that my gain remains constant, and this is done by current mirrors or constant current sources. So this part we will see next time. I hope I was able to convince you today that why there is a need to keep ID constant during amplification as far as this designing of the CS amplifier is concerned. So current mirrors are important, and the primary job is that they should be able to keep the current constant. Now this current should be such that my transistors are always in saturation. So that is why what current should flow through the MOSFET is always a saturation current, not a current which changes with voltage. So anyways, more on that will be in the next class. So for now, I will end the session here. Thank you.